about NFTs and crypto. And we have an amazing guest with us, Mark. Hello. um,
Hello.
Thank you so much. We had a little bit issue with tech-related issue at the beginning, so everyone a little bit upset, but I hope we will boost our energy soon by very interesting questions, and we'll have very productive conversation today. So the amazing thing about Mark comes from marketing space, and he's been doing marketing, right? You've been selling IT product, and you've been helping all sorts of IT companies with marketing. It's the first thing. But then you join crypto space, NFTs, and you are a big influencer. I know that you have a lot of followers, and I've been I tried to watch all your videos, but I was able to to watch only half of them. So yes, and we consider you as experienced professional in the space of NFTs and cryptos. So we think that you can answer our questions in terms of from crypto and NFT space. Okay, a little bit about Mark. He has, first of all, he's been acknowledged as a top influencers, right? In the small space by Forbes magazine. He also been editor and writer, right? His agency has a lot of acknowledgements as well. And of course, we'll give him some time to introduce himself. So Mark, please, very welcome.
Well, it wasn't that bad. I mean, everyone has tech issues with Zoom, so don't worry about it. I can count 1,000 times where they've happened to me. All right, a little bit about me. Basically, been in marketing for the last 20 years. A little bit of sales, a little bit of legal, mixed in with that. But my main goal is to see us all through the crypto ups and downs, and mostly downs recently. I think we'll get into that a little bit. And I've got a show on it. I've written about it. I've been involved from the beginning, even though I wasn't a believer at all. I was kind of the anti-Bitcoin person for a while. But as soon as Ethereum came to light, I said, this is rock solid. This is the future. Little did I know there'd be a bunch of charlatans that jumped in and tried to exploit people. But that's the Wild Wild West for you, and that's crypto. It's all going to get better. It's going to be the new frontier, and I suggest everyone at least look at it right now. So that's my background.
Yeah, and actually, I was watching your videos, starting from the beginning, and I was actually noticing.
You didn't fall asleep?
No, I didn't fall asleep. I was actually noticing the sound of like some doubts being biased, about things. I know that you've been talking with some with people who are been in space for like 30 years or something, and I can tell that you had lots of doubts in your head in terms of like the value of NFTs and crypto. Please, can you please explain your thoughts? Why did you have lots of doubts at the beginning?
Well, in the very beginning, and I still have doubts, but in the very beginning, I'm like, what's this made up, algorithm, digital money that somebody that's anonymous just made up and threw out there, and we're supposed to subscribe to that? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
What is this? It just seems like a scam to me.
absolutely.
It turns out it wasn't a scam, but a lot that came after it was, unfortunately, whether intended or not. But when you look at digital money or digital currency or digital assets, it is the future. When you look at Ethereum, where you can program currency or build on top of cryptocurrency to make new applications and to have automated programs running on top of it. Imagine, I like to use current analogies that everyone understands. Imagine if your bank account or your dollar bills ran algorithms that automatically look for the best and safest investment given your situation. Now, we're not quite there yet with crypto, but that's where it's headed. That's what we call DeFi today.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're not quite there. But money becomes smarter. Because it's digital, it's also more risky and more dangerous. So all of the systems that need to be in place aren't in place yet. It literally is the Wild Wild West without any rules. the rules are coming because the crypto industry itself could not police its own. We let this happen. We're to blame. But it is the future. We just needed this washout to have the good value-based crypto companies come in and start building what is our future.
Talking about numbers, because every time I'm looking at some market research, regarding the like crypto, there are like absolutely mind-blowing numbers. And I'm coming from scientific background. For me, numbers without explanation, what kind of method, what kind of theory behind, like what kind of data they used, and what kind of theory they applied to bring up the suggestions. For me, it's questionable. It's one thing. Another thing, taking into account risks, this thing considered to be like really high risky because it's new and not that many people know about it. Let's put it this way: if there is a really high level of risk, you cannot bring up those like huge numbers, because simply if you have really high risks involved, you basically can subtract all these numbers. You know what I'm talking about? Because if there are lots of high risks involved, those numbers, they basically those numbers, they do not represent, in fact, the actual, truth about NFTs and cryptos, right? Do you agree with me?
Well, I mean, the beauty of crypto is everything's on the blockchain. So you can audit those numbers. What happens is these people manipulate the numbers by trading back and forth. So the numbers look 10 times bigger than they are. So you never really know what the truth is and what the truth isn't. Mm-hmm. If you have a forensic accountant that understands crypto, they can trace the wallets, but most of it's anonymous unless you've identified one wallet, they've traded with another wallet that you're aware of. So that's the issue. The numbers are real, but they could be manipulated, I think, is the right answer. And that's probably what you're seeing. And it's really unfortunate. Again, we need to come up with a system to kind of monitor that and to make sure that people aren't being scammed. I'd say what's worse is the whole monetary system, the fiat, what we call the fiat monetary system. That's hidden. Nobody sees where dollars are flowing. It's all over the place, whether it's governments hiding money or drug dealers hiding money or whomever. It's even more. Let's see, it's far less transparent than crypto. So pick your poison.
Okay, so
Mark, if I may ask a question.
Yeah.
Does it mean that people are trading because basically there is no cost of trading money around, so that they use it to increase the currency value because there would be recorded more tradings and therefore it looks like more valuable? Or there is kind of minimal fee when you trade money around? Yeah,
there's a minimal fee, and they do it because we don't have a very good system for valuating crypto. So the default is trading volume and number of token holders. All of those numbers can be and are manipulated by most of the top. I'd say anyone outside the top 100. There's probably some manipulation going on within the top 100 as well, but especially towards the 101 and more. And there's 10,000 cryptocurrencies out there.
Okay,
thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, man. It's very useful. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about manipulations, I know that, I've been looking at media, what they're saying, and what people saying about it, NFTs, cryptos. And if at the beginning they were like a huge trend, and everybody was trying to buy crypto, in all possible ways, and utilize this new tool in all possible ways, in all possible industries they can. But in the last year, especially in the last month, more and more articles actually appeared about the ethics of the usage, and more cases regarding the suit cases and real serious issues in NFTs and crypto words. For example, I noticed that copyrights is not that the copyright transaction NFTs, it's not that transparent. And the thing is, it's a very big question, and good thing is we have another participant, an attendee in our group, Olga. She actually experienced in the law. She's a lawyer in IT space, and we're very happy to have her with us today. So she will help us, with some professional opinion from lawyer perspective. But first, Mark, do you have? I know that you have agency, right? That actually working with crypto. Do you have any like? Do you have any history of some problems involved? I mean,
do I have a history of problems being involved in crypto?
Yes, in terms of like anything related to law.
Well, I've been caught up in scams I didn't know were scams. And I don't think a lot of these projects start out that way, but when they're offering 80,000% APY, that should be your first clue that this is a pyramid scheme. They're relying on funds to come in to pay everybody else off. And it wasn't even that with some of these projects. It was just, you'd see your token balance accumulating, you'd see the price of the token saying, I've got $2 million here in 4 months. The problem is when the rug's pulled, and it will be pulled if there's no value. That was just a pyramid scheme, and a lot of smart people got sucked up into it. If there's no value there, if they're not producing income, well, then how are they going to pay this off? So, yeah, I've been caught up in those things. With NFTs, I'm not a big believer, and I get in a lot of trouble for this. I'm not a big believer in the first generation NFTs. I don't think there's a lot of value. Sorry. Second generation NFTs, where they're more programmable, and let's say you own a Justin Bieber, I'm just using this example, album cover NFT, and that gets you into his next 3 concerts. There's some value to that. So I could see those NFTs and those like them. Believe me, there'll be some very creative NFTs in the next generation, and they're already starting to trickle out. But this first generation, where it's just a JPEG or even a video that's put out there, I think they're worthless. That's me, and I take a lot of heat for it. But that's my opinion.
You think that okay? Olga, do you want something to add? I mean,
yeah, I just wanted to support Mark's arguments and say that I totally share your opinion that they're basically worthless, in the respect that there is no provision of any kind of rights. Basically, what you receive for your money is a link which is disposed somewhere on the web server, and under this link you can access a particular picture or so, but you don't own any rights in the picture or in the song or whatever you can get. And I think that there was a big misunderstanding, and somehow it was even misleading for people for the first generation NFTs, that they somehow thought that they might acquire rights in this particular copyright protected whatever it is, a photo or a picture or whatever. But in the end, they did not acquire anything than a link to open that picture. And therefore, I believe that, as always, we could see in crypto with the first generation ICOs in 2015, 2016 or so, that due to a lack of knowledge, people just try to jump on something new, and new technology, which seemed for them to be interesting, but had no particular idea what exactly they're investing in. And I believe that NFT somehow is just a revival of what we have seen with the ICOs. And now more mature companies use blockchain technology for real use cases, for real business-driven use cases, and for them, you also can use NFTs. So basically, it's not about the technology or the way of using FT, so to say, fungible token or non-fungible token. It is about the use case itself. So I would strongly agree with Mark that for many NFTs in the very beginning, it was just like buying some air for a tremendous amount of money, but nothing else than that.
Okay, so let's put it this way. We understood that there are a lot of scam in NFTs, like from early beginning. Okay, so the thing is how you can protect yourself and how you can, is there any way to control, and is there any like law enforcement actually exist for the control of the situation? What do you think? Mark, do you know about something about the so the question is, do we have any control of the situation? How to avoid scam? Can we avoid, like, can people who want to buy an NFT avoid the scam? So basically, does it literally mean if I'm involving NFTs, basically I'm for 90%, I'm involving in a scam, literally?
Well,
right?
I don't think it's intentionally a scam. I just think it's like people have put these things out there in hopes that someone sees value in it. Like, you know, the whole ape series, and people saw value in it, which, you know, if that's fine, I'm just here to tell them there's not going to be any value in it in 10 years. But, you know, if they see value in it now, fine. Just like, you know, a baseball card, people see a lot of value in baseball cards because they're original, they're physical. You know, I get it, and I understand why people find those things valuable. But, you know, those are aging cards, and you can't reproduce them, and somebody can't just take it and put it on their computer screen or anything like that. It doesn't work that way. So with an NFT, it does. I could just duplicate your $100,000 NFT and just use it. What are you going to do? So that's why I don't see value in it. There's got to be programmable value, which again is coming. So to avoid an NFT scam, I simply would. NFTs can be tracked on the blockchain, so you should first of all check to see that it's a legitimately registered item on the blockchain. If there are any copyright issues, there's somebody should be logging it online or doing something online to show that, hey, no, there's this is questionable. And with a blockchain, you should be able to flag it. So you got to do all your background check, just like you would with any purchase, art or otherwise. You know, you should be doing the same due diligence. For me, I'd skip this first generation and wait on generation 2 and 3. Then you won't be scammed. And the community's got to come up with better tools.
So what do you mean?
There are some to show that it's a scam or not.
What kind of when we're talking about next generation of NFTs, what kind of tools, like, why do you think the next generation going to actually be better?
Because there's going to be real value behind it. Like I used the Justin Bieber example as just one, but there might be NFTs that, let's just say, a shareholder gives out or a company gives out that says, okay, here's an NFT that enables you to have our product and unlock all these other things, but also it's a share of the company. Again, I'm making this up. And that share of the company will be tracked, will be securitized by, you know, this group of shares that we have privately held in our corporation, but can be traded as an NFT. And when those private shares become public, then, you know, they can be exchanged for US dollars. And I'm just making this up as I go, but NFTs can be securitized with anything. So an NFT of an old pair of Nike, not an old pair, but a collectible pair of Nike shoes, for example, that's securitized by something. So the second generation will be valuable. Also, but again, use your thinking, critical thinking skills, and look at how is this valuable. If it's just a piece of a JPEG, it's not, in my opinion. So
Nike has already a lawsuit involved. So Nike already has officially lawsuit involved.
Okay, is it tied to a shoe?
Yeah, it's about, yeah. So, you cannot bring Nike as a good example.
Well, maybe they're already in the second generation.
Hopefully. Hopefully, but let me put this way. I found information that actually NFTs counts only for 1% of cryptos. Yeah. So NFT is actually not that good representation of the whole idea of cryptos, right? Well,
I'll say this. I think NFTs are here to stay, but not in its current form. They'll be much more valuable in the future, and you'll be able to assign value to it. Analysts will be able to come in and say, this is worth this because of X or Y or Z. But right now, it's just
yeah. If you see, you're talking about analysts, you're talking about third party involved.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's going to be not, because the whole idea is, right, it's basically, it's peer-to-peer transactions, and the whole of idea of cryptos, it's that nobody involved. I mean, you have a more freedom and democracy in terms of its usage. If you're talking about someone is coming and taking control of it, it's already meaning it's basically the whole idea of it going to be transformed, right?
I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. I kind of look at it as the whole idea of crypto and NFTs is to digitize things and to make them more efficient, more transparent, and less reliant on government. And that's kind of the ethos and the pathos and of what crypto is about, is that there's large players in the financial industry that are manipulating the market. That's why Bitcoin was born. And none of us have any control over it. So why shouldn't we create our own system that works outside of government, works outside of these big corporations in order to make it a more fair playing ground? Unfortunately, we've let charlatans in and manipulate the market and the community, and we're all getting screwed because of it, because now we got a big black eye we got to repair.
Talking about the current, we're in 2022, and we want to know, do we have any actually law that controls crypto currently?
I mean, there's a few. I mean, some of the laws, the securities laws apply still, and they're trying to apply them to crypto. But you have to remember that crypto is not just the United States; it's all over the world. So every locality's got their own rules. It's kind of a nightmare. And right now, because there's not a lot of regulation, because crypto's resisted it, there's not a laws on the books, just current laws that they are trying to apply to crypto. However, given these latest fiascos with FTX and Luna and all the rest of them, I see regulation and laws coming in a big way.
But for example, if you're a US citizen, if you're a US citizen and you are actually using, working in a crypto space or have a crypto, you actually, IRS considers you as a broker still, right? As I understand.
As a blogger?
Broker. So basically,
broker.
IRS will ask you to pay. So there is a certain law regulation still, as I understand, involved. Like in the United States, if you're a US citizen, and you're making money via crypto, you have to pay certain percentage to the government if you earn any, right? Yeah. So that's right. US government considers you as a broker, as a person. Like it basically still government will still try to control you and will ask you to pay taxes for it.
Yeah, I would defer to Olga on this, but yeah, I mean, if you're making money on an asset, and they do consider these either commodities or assets, depending on who you ask, and you make money on it, yeah, you got to pay taxes on it. And now they're really getting strict about it. So the issue is of course, if Olga and I had private wallets, we could be trading amongst each other and they'd never know. I mean, unless you disclose it, and by law you should, but it's harder to track.
Olga, can you comment on the law side?
Yeah, sure. So I think that we need to distinguish between two particular parts of regulation. On the one hand, the securities regulation, like what we have right now with shares and other commodities, and on the other hand, with the tax regulation. So basically all over the world, as far as I'm aware, tax authorities decided for sure that this is a taxable income if you do it in a professional way, so to say. I can speak, for example, for Germany, since I'm a German qualified lawyer, how it is in Germany or how it is in Europe, which is also a big market for cryptos. In general, the financial authorities are quite eager to regulate, and we have a new framework in the European Union on that. And I believe that a lot of countries overseas will also want to adopt something like that, because we have seen, due to all these scams in the past years, that there is a huge need for a regulation. This is the regulation of whether cryptos can be deemed as a security or not. And the other thing is the tax question. And basically, as far as I'm aware, everywhere in the world it is taxable. Because of course, governments don't want to let people just go and not put some taxes on that, especially when we have seen how the Bitcoin and other coins increased in value. And for that reason, of course, governments want to participate and benefit from this development. So in general, we need to take into account two things. First of all, we need to qualify the token which is issued on the market. Is it a security or not? And this depends on a variety of factors. Also on the question how whether the particular clerk in the department of SEC or the other regulating body wants to qualify your token. And the other thing is, of course, the question of taxability. And here, in general, governments don't apply any exemption, except the question, for example, for Germany, I can say that once you hodl a token for more than a year, then you don't need to pay taxes on that, unless you do it as a professional broker, right? But for the rest, they, of course, want to participate in this. And I believe that the more the market share of crypto as a commodity will increase, the more governments and tax authorities will be wanting to monitor this market. Because, as Mark just said, once we have, for example, a private wallet, nobody perhaps can see or have an insight on what's going on. But once we register on different trading platforms, and we have an intermediary, and things are more transparent for the government, they can inquire to provide information. Who is the one who's trading that big amount of money? Is this the person who is showing us the income or not? Can we tax or not? Can we sanction because they did not put it on the tax report, for example? So I think that all over the world, financial authorities are preparing and increasing the knowledge on this market, because they see that this is an opportunity to escape taxes. And for sure, they don't want people to escape and pay the taxes as they should, right?
Understood. Question is,
I have a question on probably, Mark, or some specific example for the individual investors, because I noticed last year when I was doing my taxes, the system asked me whether you had any investments or doing with crypto. I know that usually it would ask you also if you have more than $10,000 in foreign assets somewhere. So how this kind of impacts the individuals that they don't put too much money. But what I heard was that from people who did get some crypto, they say, oh, it was such a headache afterwards to do the taxes. But do you have some kind of explanations what was going on? And
yeah, well, everyone knows that if you've got stocks at a brokerage, they send you a year-end 1099 INT or 1099G. I can't remember which one. Same thing with your crypto exchange. They should be doing the exact same thing. Now, if you're trading through like a decentralized platform, they're not going to send you anything. So you got to keep track of those trades. Now, I will say the government really can't audit that. So some people are being honest about it and some people aren't. And that's your choice. Personally, I would lean towards disclosing, because if they find some way to figure it out in the future, you might be in big trouble. But it helps when you're doing it on exchanges, so because they'll send you the profit and loss statement at the end of the year. However, I wouldn't keep any money on exchanges, because we've all seen what's happened with FTX and other exchanges that go under, because the way they're utilizing the funds that they're holding as in a custodial accounts is in some cases, like FTX and Alameda, not very smart. And in their case, I think it's criminal. So just be very careful.
Okay, talking about being careful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for your explanation. The question is, when we're talking about being careful, what kind of, I mean, what those things we have to look at? What those things are?
Yeah, I have a show on this actually, you know, what to look for. I think it was just recently. And you know what I look for is the reputation of the exchange. I would prefer a decentralized exchange like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, where it's run by a program. It's not run by people. They're not holding your funds. You know, it's just a place where you go and trade one crypto for another. And then hold it in sort of a hardware wallet that connects to your computer like a USB, and that's the safest way to do it. Other than that, you can go to the top exchanges, maybe like Coinbase or Binance, even though they're being looked at right now by authorities, and trade there. So I don't know if that answers your question directly, but I'm extremely safe when trading.
Yeah, the thing is, you already know so basically you have good understanding of the market, and you know those basically brands who are responsible, who are more safe, who are less safe, right?
Yeah.
For me, right, for example, I'm absolutely new to the world, and I have no idea what kind of platform I'm supposed to trust and what kind of not. Can we, for example, if I'm looking for what kind of clue I have to look at? Do they provide some explanation? Is there any specific things I have to look at the platform? Okay, I found something, I Googled it, I found something, okay, I'm on it. What I should look at, like, to be sure that I can trust? Do they disclose information? Because there is no rules, and we cannot say for sure. You know, look, for example, I'm looking in first time in my life at what I should look at.
Well, in terms of trust and reliability, that's a tough one. You know, you network with people like me that'll kind of guide you, because everything's up in the air right now based on what's happened in the last 6 months, especially with FTX. I mean, FTX was the #2 exchange in the world, and turns out it was a criminal enterprise, I think. I mean, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but certainly what they were doing is by all means criminal. I mean, that's why the founder just got arrested yesterday. So, you know, Coinbase is still relatively safe. I just worry that there's going to be a run on that exchange. Genesis is relatively safe. I know the Winklevoss twins, and they're stand-up people. But again, you know, if there's a run on the bank, there's a run on the bank, and there's no FDIC to back them all up. So you got to be careful. That's why I'd store it in your own personal wallet, offline cold storage wallet, as they call it. And then when you trade, use the exchanges, but quickly take the money off and put it in your cold storage wallet.
So the best way to do it is just basically seek for professional help. If you really want to make money, if you really want to play secure game, you better find someone like Mark and trust, like a person who you can actually trust, who has experience and knowledge in the area. Because if you're new to the area, basically you will get scammed easily, right?
You could. I mean, I don't know. I'd say 99% of people don't want to scam you. It just ends up they're not safe. These people are not people that understand how to run a business in some cases. I mean, as scary as that sounds, you know, there's these Gen Z, and no offense to Gen Z, but these Gen Zs and millennials that have never ran a bank, never ran an institution, that have taken these things over, and they're making all sorts of promises and not putting the precautions in place. So somebody like me would have said FTX is probably a pretty safe place 4 or 5 months ago, but I didn't know underlying it what was going on. So even relying on somebody like me might not be the best answer. It would be the process I just explained. Only use decentralized exchanges, which are run by nobody. It's a computer programmer, and then store your crypto offline, at least until these safety regulations get in place and we have real adults running some of these these companies.
That's good. Olga, do you want something to add?
Well, I think that one particular rule we learned a couple of years ago while people mostly started with crypto was not your keys, not your coins.
Yes.
And this refers to what Mark just said. And I believe that this is somehow still true, although I would say that we have a lot of professional stakeholders in the market, intermediaries or not whatsoever. Still this rule applies. So when I don't hold things in my own hand, I can control things. And this is actually what we have seen behind the idea of Bitcoin, which was one of the answers to Lehman Brothers, financial crisis, whatever. And then we somehow stepped back to having everything centralized and still try to build some trust in central structures, which is somehow contradicting to the whole concept of decentralization. So in the end, I still would say that there is nothing bad about intermediaries and trading platforms and so, but I would be just more cautious in the sense that I would not trust too much, because this is actually one of the reasons why cryptocurrency was built and invented, so to say. And I think that this is the best thing to do, because I also could say that for sure you can check whether the terms and conditions look good or privacy policy, whatever. But first, you need to be a legal professional to somehow perhaps know or estimate if that looks serious or not. And on the other hand, what we have recently seen with FTX, sometimes this is not a real hint or a real way to discover that something is going on behind closed doors. So I would just secure myself by holding my own assets in my own hands and not trying or providing any kind of control to others. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was really a good insight. I have a question. If we're thinking about the future of economy, because we are, citizens, particular country now, are basically life and well-being very depends on the economical system. And I've heard lots of bad reviews regarding the influence of cryptos on the economy in general. Lots of people saying that will bring very bad consequences to the economy, to the future of our economy. Okay. If we are talking about the influence of cryptos on our economy in general in the United States, do you have something in your mind? What do you think about this question? Do you think that we will have similar episode that we had in 2008, or what do you think? What can you comment on the question? What the influence of cryptos on economy system on US? Let's put this on the US economy system. Mark,
sure. Well, first of all, let's examine the fiat system and what the government and big corporations control. I mean, how great a job are they doing? I mean, 8% inflation, and there's never been a bigger disparity between rich and poor. I would object to that person's characterization, and I would say crypto is here to democratize the system. We have had a lot of bad actors in it that have taken advantage of it. That's our fault. We didn't police them, monitor them, set up our own rules to stop them. Nobody was calling them out. That's on us. However, the premise of crypto and why it was born as a result of the financial crisis in the early 2000s still holds true. And I would argue the next generation of this, with some regulation, with some self-policing, with ways of uncovering scams right away, is going to blow away anything that the fiat world is producing. And I kind of liken it to, Netflix versus Blockbuster. It's a tired trope, I understand. But when you start digitizing things, everything becomes more transparent. Everything becomes, more of a system of fairness. With the U.S. government could just print money, right? They just print money whenever they need it. And if there's inflation, there's inflation. with most crypto, the best crypto, you can't just print money. It's either printed for a certain reason and then burned later on, or there's like Bitcoin where there's only a certain amount that'll ever be minted. So to me, one is very secure, one is very transparent, and the other is the U.S. government printing money left and right. Now, a lot of people argue, hey, well, it's safer because it's backed by tax dollars, and that was my original argument: is that at least the U.S. government dollars backed by tax dollars and people making money, providing value into the economy. And I would argue now that what I've seen is that in crypto, that will be true too. It's just not there yet. We don't have a system where we can monitor the value of these crypto, because a lot of them provide no value. They're just the founders are just looking to get rich. So I take umbrage with that statement, and I will tell you that crypto will save the day, but it's not in the next couple of years. It's more like 5 or 10.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I think I believe you 100%. And I agree with you also. Olga, what do you think? What is the future in the global scale? Because I know that currently in Germany, but you have actually experience working in the United States, and you have actually education from the United States. So you have global perspective on things. So what do you think? What are your perspective like on a global scale? The influence of crypto on the economy of countries in the world in general?
Well, I would say that this will more and more be a factor of increasement, meaning that the percentage of transactions will rise more and more, because people more and more will become acquainted with cryptos. And this is one thing. The other thing is that I particularly see, irrespective whether we are talking about Europe or the US, that more and more blockchain-based businesses are being introduced in the market, meaning that we definitely see a shift from 2015, 2016, 2017, from ICOs where no idea was behind, no commercial idea was behind, till now where we see that blockchain and cryptos are somehow a valid stakeholder in the economy. So I would say that there are a lot of use cases which are not really compatible with blockchain or cryptos, and it's just like people want to make use of the marketing advantage, like it sounds cool or it sounds so new and futuristic. But more and more we will come to the conclusion that a lot of these use cases are not real use cases, but those use cases which are real use cases and which are really beneficial for the economy will increase a lot, in my opinion. So I would say that we are still in the period of shifting things, but crypto will remain. I don't think that once crypto will just disappear. I rather would say that it is transforming and getting more mature, also due to regulation and due to successful business models, but it will mature. And I see a particular use case is that we will use it in the global economy to facilitate banking transfers and make things more efficient and more simple and more cheap in that sense, but also tokenization products and different possibilities to, let's say, to introduce money, so to say, either crypto or fiat, we don't care about that, to people who don't have access to money right now, like to a banking account, for example. When we see how population is differently structured in the world, this will be something which will certainly provide a lot of increase in the sphere of cryptos. So in the end, my opinion is that things will be more mature, more secure, and therefore also the amount or the number of people using cryptos will increase.
That's good. I think it's a very good projection. So I guess I can still wait to get to get fully involved, because honestly, from my perspective, I was a little bit staying about and approaching, watching out what's going on, because yes, I had a lot of like biases regarding the crypto world. But I can tell that most of my friends you know, in the Bay Area. They're all into it, like all of them. Another question is, are they making money of it? It's another question. Nobody asks of them not making a single dollar of them. I mean, actually losing, but they all still into it. They have very solid belief into the future. And as I understand you too, it's a good moment to conclude our webinar. So there's according to all professionals, we can say for sure that there are a great future for cryptos, NFTs, but for now you have to be like really, really careful. And if you're thinking about, if you own something and you actually directly on the copyright, it can be not true. So you have to be really, really careful in purchasing things and dealing with those things. Because you really have high chance to be scammed. And the thing is, the best way to do it is to seek professional help for people like Mark or like Olga, who actually will help you to navigate and find the right solution that you're looking for, right? So I really appreciate your time. I know that we went a little bit out of schedule, and we went a little bit longer than we expected, but I highly appreciate your presence, and thank you so much for being with us today. And I believe all the insights you provided are very valuable, and for people who watch us and who listen to us, they probably will find, for them it will be valuable also. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Hopefully in person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Me too.
Appreciate it.
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.